Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. B.C. Patnaik, Member Life, IRDAI, is also with us now. A very warm and hearty welcome to you, sir, and I request you to please join us on the dais. Thank you so much, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, I now have the pleasure of introducing the accomplished guest for today, Mr. Nilesh Garg, who would be presenting the special address. With over 27 years of rich experience in the financial sector, Mr. Garg took charge as the MD and CEO of Tata AIG General Insurance Company during October 2015. Under his guidance, the organization has expanded its distribution and digital footprints and has even won various industry awards. Prior to joining Tata AIG, he worked with ICICI Lombard General Insurance Company for about 13 years, where he was on the board of the company as executive director. An active member of CII National Committee in Insurance, Mr. Garg is involved in various policy-making committees set up by the IRDAI. He is a proud alumnus of the Sri Ram College of Commerce, Delhi University, and holds a PGDBM from IIM Bangalore. With this brief introduction, I request him to kindly come forward and present the special address.
Dr. Agarwal, Mr. Patnaik, Mr. Satyakumar, Mr. Srinivasan, all my seniors and colleagues of the industry sitting here, and especially all the young and energetic NIA students. Good morning to you all. Thank you once again for inviting me to be part of this seminar. I really look forward to this annual event. All of these seminars, I feel, play a very important role in our industry. You know, they give us time to step away from the daily rigmarole and, you know, take a bird's eye view of, you know, where we are and where we want to go. So when, you know, these are like Bima Manthans, you know, which we do. So very important, these events, you know, play a very, important role. So I think the context has been set by the director NIA. In terms of trust, I feel is a very important aspect. And Chairman IRDA and all the senior leaders, you know, have given this audacious and ambitious, you know, vision of insurance for all by 2047. So India, as we mentioned before, we are the 10th largest insurance market, and the way we are growing, you know, we will become the 6th largest. When I joined this industry in 2002, you know, non-life insurance penetration was only 0.43% of GDP. And today we are hitting at about, 1%. So we've done good. You know, we've grown in the last decade, you know, we have grown at about 14% CAGR, but I feel, and especially, you know, Chairman IRDA keeps on pushing us, you know, that this growth rate is not sufficient if we have to get to our vision of insurance for all. We need to be growing at the very least, you know, by 20% CAGR. And that's, you know, what's going to, you know, make this difference. So I think, you know, how we are going to get there is something, you know, which we need to think about. And one of the ways always, you know, personally I use is what has happened in the last 2 decades. I feel, you know, what has happened is a lot of the insurances which have got sold are the mandatory insurances. And I'm talking in the context of non-life or general insurance as it's called. So motor insurance, you know, has grown a lot. It has grown because, you know, the law as of now mandates a third-party insurance. Similarly, the lenders mandate, you know, the corporates or the SMEs, you know, to insure their assets or the home insurance. And COVID was a watershed moment for the industry. Apart from all the, you know, agony which, you know, COVID had wreaked upon, you know, the country, The only positive silver lining, which came out of it is, it created a big awareness in everybody in India, every household, about the importance of health insurance. And which is the result, today we have seen, that health insurance as a segment has become the largest segment of the insurance industry. And this trend, to my mind, is going to keep on growing, because if I look at the numbers, 2/3 or even more of the healthcare spends of India are still paid for by self-funding. So which happens, either by taking a loan or dipping into your savings, etc. 50% of the vehicle population continues to be uninsured. A very, very large part, I mean, the number is very difficult to calculate, but my sense is, about 2/3 of the SMEs, and SMEs, I am taking the number of 6.5 crore SME, which the government, says still are uninsured or underinsured. So I think the potential for this country, to grow is, immense. I'm going to spend some time, to talk about how we can, reach there. And one of the first things, I feel is this industry needs fresh thinking and human capital. I think one of the reasons, why the industry has also grown from 0.4%, to 1% is, because privatization happened in 2001, and a lot of people, a lot of young minds which were not part of the insurance industry for long came in and challenged, some of the ideas. And I feel, that way, the audience of this room, in terms of young students, for financial services industry, human capital is the most important aspect. Our raw material of our industry is human capital. So, sir spoke about the talent, the data is the new oil, but I also feel that any company who is going to win in the future has to win the war for talent. And our ability as an organization, whether it's Tata AIG or anybody else, to attract and retain, nurture and grow talent is going to make the difference. So I think, because if you see any industry which has got disrupted, whether it is Apple or Amazon or Google or anything, I think its starting point of each of these industries, has been somebody, some human mind challenging the concept and coming out with a new idea. If you look at, private car insurance policy 20 years back and today, so the product has changed. Product, did not used to cover depreciation. Today, there are 30 add-ons, which my company has, just for private car product. So you can not only, you can have a bumper-to-bumper cover, but, you can have, in case, you are indisposed and, you do not have your vehicle for 1 week, you can even rent a vehicle and the insurance, pays for that. Similarly, today, for private car, if you just enter your registration number on the website, you can get a quote. Now, this is, I think, what we were talking about in terms of technology, wherein we need to connect with the data ecosystems of Vahan, which the Government of India provides, or IIB, or various other data ecosystems, or even, for that matter, CIBIL, to provide, to make life, easy and convenient. So I think, the first thing which I want to talk about is, human capital. The second thing I think, which again will help us grow, is products. India is having now almost 6 to 7 mini cat events every year. Climate change has become a reality, and we are having a lot of localized flood events because of various reasons. And everybody thinks at the time of a flood or a fire that we should have got home insurance done. But nobody in India, and I'm exaggerating a little bit, nobody in India has home insurance. So those are the questions, we need to ask, deep. Now, to my mind, not only is it a demand side problem, but there is also a huge supply side problem. Supply side problem is, basically the manufacturing industry, the insurance industry has not made products which are easy to consume, which are understood by the average customer, on the road. Average customer, this happens in any country, not just in India. The economic, financial literacy is, very low. So how do we make products which do not have or which overcome this fear of the common man of this hidden wording, of these hidden clauses, hidden exclusions. How do we come up with these products, which are more and more transparent in, every aspect? And Bima Vistar is, one of the ways, to go about it. And I'm seeing that, now motor insurance, has minimized or almost, no exclusions, now going forward. Similarly, the health insurance coverages, are increasing. So how do we create products, where there is no possibility of missell, there is no possibility of miscommunication? That's, I think, extremely important. The second very important part is, in terms of finally the product which everybody buys is claims. It is not insurance. Now, irony is, that while the product is claims, but every time there are more claims, the insurance company makes losses. So how do we solve this dilemma? And that's, I think, extremely important, that whenever a claim happens, it is a moment of distress for the customer. So what is that right balance between empathy and fair and transparent claims and speed and responsiveness is a very important aspect. Approximately about 2 out of 100 claims might have a fraudulent aspect, 2 or maybe 3, depending on the line of the business. Unfortunately, the entire insurance industry, we design our processes and products for those 2 and not for the 98. And those are things, which, Sir spoke about trust. How do we end up creating trust is, by designing products. So while on one side, we need to have very strong data analytics to identify the fraud. Now there is big data and IIB is, again doing a great job. How do we mine this entire data and have these advanced AI-driven data algorithms which help us identify fraud? But on the other side, these 98 customers who have not done anything wrong, how do I ensure that we are able to give them their claim in the most seamless, fast, and transparent manner? There are products now we are talking about wherein if there is a delay in flight, I have got the ecosystem, data ecosystem, telling me there is a delay. I don't need you to tell me. If you are on that flight, you had bought the ticket, you have bought that insurance, I just pay within 30 minutes to 1 hour, 60 minutes, I just pay you the money in your account. You don't need to claim. I think that's how we will be able to establish, this trust in terms of, customers' mind. Similarly, on the distribution side is the most underappreciated aspect of insurance. India, and Sir said Bharat, we continue to be a very, very large country. We have got 600,000 villages, and the issue is that while we can have hubs in cities like Delhi, Bombay, but how if we have to do insurance for all, we need to reach out to this entire population sitting in tier 3, tier 4, tier 5 towns as well as these villages. And how do we do that? I think again my view is that one of the big changes which the regulator had done was in terms of freeing up of the distribution of health insurance for Sahis. And that I thought was one of those watershed moments. So today the overall agents of general insurance, all companies including the 4 PSUs and private sector put together, is approximately 7 lakh. The Sahis put together, they have been able to do about 10 lakh agents. And the reason for that is, simplifying the licensing process, simplifying the onboarding process, limiting, not limiting the agents or the distribution, to one company, but to freeing them up. I think that's, again, I feel it's got a lot of power. And if India, we all have to achieve our vision of insurance for all, I think we cannot do it. And again, I would say that hats off and kudos, to IRDA of thinking about this concept called Bima Wahak, which will be a village-level women entrepreneur. And we are working very strongly with the state governments, to ensure, there is a strong push for that. Last aspect and last but not the least, I want to talk about is this entire concept of digital tech and whether we look at affordability of products. I mean, how do we get affordability of products? I mean, we keep on talking about anything which has been successful in India, whether it's been telecom, prepaid cards, or, you name it. Whatever expands, to 100 crore people is basically when you hit the right price point. And how do we get the right price point? So insurance products can become affordable, one, if we reduce or eliminate frauds, so that brings down the cost. Second is, if we increase the distribution. And third, today on an average, insurance GI industry is having expense ratios of upwards of anywhere between 30 to 40%, which essentially means out of 100 rupees of premium, the customer is getting a value of only about 60 rupees, 60 to 65 rupees. I feel there is a huge inefficiency sitting in the insurance industry, with an expense ratio of 30 to 40%. And we need to, bring it down. And one of the key tools to bring it down is technology. And technology, I always say, is like three kinds of technology. One is, the technology which is just eliminating paper and automation of 100% of the processes of the insurance industry. Second one is, where we are using technology or digital rather as a channel, whether it is an app on your mobile phone or, on the website. How do we get people? And, again, IRDA is taking the lead, by initiating something called Bima Sugam. But how do we get people into the habit of coming onto the site and understanding the products in detail and doing these complex transactions, by themselves, that will bring down the cost, hugely. But I get very excited by the third aspect of technology, which is technology of the future, which is where technology will start changing the nature of the risk. And what I mean by that is, if you're willing to wear a wearable device, so your premium on your health insurance will change. If you're having today we are having pay-as-you-drive products in India, which means if one customer is driving, 100 kilometers every day and the second customer is driving, 5 kilometers every day, they don't need to pay the same price. So you pay on how much you consume. Similarly, now we are beginning to experiment with concepts like pay how you drive. So home insurance, again, we are beginning to, use sensors. There are smart home concepts and, sensors, so if there is going to be a seepage in your home, how do I identify that seepage and, and kind of proactively reach out to you and help you before that time happens? So I think that's something, which I feel is going to change the nature cyber, of course, is going to be a very, very big area. Today, a lot of the lives of all of us, including, more for the youngsters, but for all of us, a lot of our lives are on the net. And whether it's banking transactions or social media or everything, how do we, get protection, for that? So again, cyber liability is going to become, very important thing. There are concepts like parametric insurances. Today, whenever a catastrophic event happens in India, the insurance ends up paying not for only 5 to 10% of the economic losses. In countries like Japan and US, this number goes up to 80 to 90%. So which 5 to 10% means in any catastrophic loss in India, 90 to 95% of the losses have to be paid by the customers themselves. And typically, this is the lower strata, economically lower strata of the population. So again, how do we, popularize these concepts of parametric covers? Tata AIG, we ourselves had done an experiment with the government of Nagaland, where we had covered this entire population of Nagaland, that if the rainfall is above a certain level, then, the entire population will get a certain payout. Similarly, today, there is adequate data available for insurance industry to parameterize any weather event, whether it is hailstorm, sun, wind, rain, anything can be done. So if there is an output loss of solar panels, that can be insured. If your coffee plantation is having, is giving you less output, that can be insured. So I think, we will need to, embrace technology wholeheartedly. We will need young minds to think about it in a very different way, embrace technology, expand distribution in a major way, and think about products in a very, very radical manner if we have to achieve this, our vision of insurance for all by 2047. I am very bullish that we can do it. Once again, I feel that the young minds have to challenge us, to ignite us, and challenge the status quo. That's my only request to you guys. You need to challenge the status quo, for our industry to reach and aspire and meet its vision of insurance for all. So thank you again for inviting me here. It's a pleasure always, and I wish you a very, very good day of discussions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Garg, for an insightful address.